Hey, everybody, we're coming at you live on the Jim Masters Show, live entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for making us a part of your day today. Another great episode in store, chock full of great information, great entertainment, and of course, our famous Jameis Loveney. And it's so good to have you here from wherever you're watching all around the world. Now, if you're here for the first time, we always sort of identify ourselves because we're always getting lots of new viewers and subscribers to the YouTube channel, which we love. We are here in the United States, in the New York area, the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, along the beautiful southern New England coast between New York and Boston. Right now, it's about 22 degrees and a little nippy. We've been sort of spoiled because it's been about 70 degrees the last couple of days, which this time of the year in the winter is very unusual, but we'll take it. But today it's down to about 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Wherever you're watching from, let us know. You can post in the comments section on our YouTube channel under the episode. Feel free. Or if you would like to comment while the show is on live right now, and again, you could do both. We would love it if you drop a comment in the comment section. We have what we call the JMS Loveney Hall chat room. This is called Levity Hall because I said levity once on the air, light, love, and levity combined, and everybody jumped on it. So this is Levity Hall on the Jim Master Show. We have a chat room that's open and available right now. You guys can say hello to one another, chat with one another. That's kind of exclusive. Not a lot of people do that, but we do it here because it's a very interactive talk show series to bring you in from around the world and say hi to us. We might even sprinkle a comment or two on the screen below and say hello to me and our guest, who is extraordinary. She's a wonderful writer, author, novelist, and she's an incredible athlete. Matter of fact, she's going to be doing a marathon. I think it's like tomorrow. And it's kind of frigid where she is. She's in England. She's in the United Kingdom. She's in London. Lexie Elliott is joining us, Scottish-born novelist, and we are so excited to have her here on the show. We're going to be talking about a brand new book she has out, a new novel, and some of the other ones in the past as well. She's a prolific writer and has been doing it for a long time, and it's really cool to have her here coming to us live from the UK, from London. And it's kind of cool. So, or it's about 8 p.m. where she is. We're doing this show right now in the afternoon. For those watching live, it's 3 p.m. Eastern here. It is noon Pacific, where it's like snowing in California and LA, which is very unusual. And it's 8 p.m. We welcome everybody that's watching here in the United States, to the north in Canada, south in Mexico and South America. Our friends over in Europe, we welcome you throughout Europe, as well as Asia, Africa, Australia, and New Zealand as well. We have viewers that come from everywhere, and they write to us and they contact us, and we love that. We love that. So it's so great to have you here. Again, if you'd like to comment, feel free. Not phones are open. I guess that you'd say that during a telethon, right? The phones are open. The JMS Levity Hall chat room is open right now, and you guys can comment and have some fun. All right, so let's tell you about our amazing guest because we have so much to get to. Lexie Elliott, extraordinaire when it comes to being an author, novelist, and an athlete. Yeah, I love that. We're gonna sprinkle that in a little bit. I think it's kind of cool how she mixes it in with her family life as well. She was born and grew up in beautiful Scotland at the foot of the Highlands, and her first attempt at a book came in primary school and featured a horse. Sadly, that manuscript has been lost, but she attended a local state high school and spent much of her teenage years reading and swimming. In 1994, she began a physics degree at the University College, Oxford, where she obtained first. That's terrific that she got that, because subsequently she obtained a doctorate in theoretical physics, also from Oxford University. A keen sportwoman, she represented Oxford University every one of her 7 years there in swimming or waterpolo. You know, that's one thing I've always wanted to try. You guys know I'm a swimmer, I'm a cyclist, and I do tennis and everything else. I haven't tried waterpolo yet. I'd love to do that. And, you know, she never lost her long-held desire to become a writer, and she always held a drawer full of private scribblings. After university, Lexi succumbed to the need to climb out of debt. I think we all do that from time to time, and find a job and began working for an investment bank in London, where she remained for 8 years. During that time, she also took up triathlon, met her husband in a swimming pool at 5:30 in the morning. So if you're ever looking for somebody in your life, dive in a swimming pool at 5:30 in the morning, you might find somebody. But she says that's another story. She got married and had two gorgeous boys, swam the English Channel, which is not necessarily smooth and, it's a little rough, but that's an incredible accomplishment. And she did it solo. She ran a few marathons and ultra marathons and tried in vain to carve out enough time to write. Now, after losing her banking job during the global financial crisis, she began working part-time in fund management in the city of London and writing part-time. Her debut novel, The French Girl, was published in February 2018. That was followed by The Missing Years in 2020, How to Kill Your Best Friend. That is a Richard and Judy Book Club summer pick. That was in 2021. Her fourth novel, Bright and Deadly Things, published 2023. And in 2021, she decided to take a break from the city, currently writing full-time. And when she's not writing, she'd be found running, swimming, juggling family life while thinking about writing. And she is actually working on her fifth novel. Kind of cool, huh? All that is happening in the life of Lexie Elliott, our very special guest who's joining us live and direct from London, England. Let's welcome her to the show and get started. Welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live series, my friend. Lexi, it's nice to have you here.
Oh, it's so nice to be here. And, when you put all of that together, I feel quite exhausted.
And you're an athlete, you're an ultra marathoner, and you're exhausted just from the material that you've done in your life, huh?
And I'm also just not sure what we're going to talk about because you covered it all, right?
There's some really cool books out there, I hear, that are worth talking about. So what an interesting story, the balance of being an athlete, but also a writer, something that you had that drawer with the scribblings in it, right? And sort of pulled them out and started getting to work. So you've always been interested in writing and telling stories ever since you were a kid, right?
Yeah, I think as soon as I understood that books actually had authors, that they didn't just magically appear on a shelf, I thought,
Right.
Oh, wow, that's what I want to do. But,
Right.
you get a bit older and you become somewhat pragmatic and you realize that actually it's quite hard to pay the bills doing that.
Yes.
So I guess I followed a route at university that had more chance of getting a career that would pay. I mean, I didn't come from the sort of background that is, held afloat by trust funds. That certainly wasn't my background. So I was going to have to pay my own way. And yeah, I felt like physics was a better route than maybe trying to expect to suddenly get a publishing contract. I'm feeling very, very fortunate that I have one now.
It's amazing. Yeah, they're not always easy to get. So to have one, congratulations on that. The physics, the science part of your background in the academics. Are there scientists and other and engineers and others that are in the family that are in the science world? What was it about that sort of attracted you, Lexi?
So my mum was a maths teacher, and I was always interested in maths. And I remember as a little girl, I'd go on car rides and say, "Oh, ask me questions, ask me questions." I just loved the way, I guess there's a real kind of definitiveness about numbers and the way in which they work, and my brain really loved that when I was little. So that was a real help for me, I guess. And my dad was actually a mechanical engineer, so I guess it came in from both sides in that respect. But then also just a general love of education in our family. My parents were both very supportive of anything that you wanted to do, read, learn in any way. My dad went back to university to do a history and politics degree when I was a late teenager. He did that by night school. And my mom went back and got a master's in education and statistics so that she could teach at university, having been a high school teacher before. And so, there was and always has been in our family a love of education.
Any musicians in the family? I know a lot of the folks that I've had come through who've come from either England, Scotland, especially Scotland and Ireland, always say that when you're a kid, a lot of times they hand you either a violin or a flute or a guitar, and you gotta learn to play it.
Well, we're not a
Any
particularly
whistle?
musical family. No, I played the piano and the viola, but not well. And I put a prohibition on my kids learning violin because, oh my God, kids learning violin, those first few years is
I
just
did that. I
painful.
did that when I was a
Yeah.
kid, and in the beginning, yeah, you kind of like, "Arr, arr." It's a little
Yeah.
bit difficult for those who aren't doing it.
Yeah. So I mean, my kids have learned musical instruments. My eldest learned the oboe, and my youngest actually plays the tuba. So
Ooh.
he's really tiny and has this giant instrument. It's a lovely contrast.
Right. It's like half the size of him, right?
Yeah, totally. It really is.
So we're going to talk about the books and the writing and all, but I'm very fascinated about your athletic background as well, a swimmer, water polo, and so much more. Tell us about that. And you are actually, you've prepped for a marathon that's happening, right? Soon? Is it
Yeah, so
tomorrow?
I'm down to do the London Marathon, which is 23rd of April, and tomorrow morning I'm doing a half marathon as part of the training for that. I mean, I'm not sure I'm going to run it particularly fast, but that will be fine. I haven't done one for a while, actually. It was 2019, I think, was my last marathon, so I'm not entirely sure where I am. Oh, that was more recent. What you're showing up there,
It is,
that's.
huh?
Yeah, so that was last year, and that was an aquathlon. So an aquathlon is swim and run. So you usually swim a K and a half and then run 5K, and that was at the European Champs. So that was a fun event. But yeah, I swam a lot as a kid. I was always quite competitive, and I got into swimming, and then they want you to do more hours, and I was keen, and my parents were very supportive, and so yeah, I was somebody who by the age of, I guess, 17, 18, I was swimming. Well, I guess I was doing 10 sessions a week and a couple of weight sessions as well. It was very much a huge part of my life. And
Yeah.
it made me very disciplined because, if you're going to train like that and you're going to get your academic stuff done, then you're going to have to use every minute you've got to just kind of work. You come in from school and you've got half an hour before you have to leave for the swimming pool. You're going to use that half hour to do your homework.
Hmm. Exactly. Even hitting the slopes from time to time.
Someone's been on my Instagram.
We do our research
Yes.
around here. That's cool. Where is this?
That would have been Aguillette de Posset, which is near Chamonix in France.
You have some wonderful spots where you end up locating yourself. Look at this with the book. I mean, this looks like a
That's
magazine
Chamonix.
cover. Is it? I mean,
Yeah,
it
I
looks
mean,
like a
you can
magazine
see
cover.
behind. I don't know if you can quite see, but there's a glacier behind. That's the
Yeah.
Bosson Glacier. Yeah,
Right.
that's a beautiful spot.
I was going to say that's the real deal. That's not a green screen effect or
No,
anything.
no,
She's
that's
actually there.
yeah.
That is so beautiful. And what you're holding up is one of the
A
latest
glass of
books.
champagne.
Yeah, you got the champagne, celebrating, the book out and all. Tell us about the book, and congratulations, Bright and Deadly Things. For those who, we have a lot of folks who love to read and they love to scoop up, things that our guests have. So I know our viewers, our lovely viewers who are commenting throughout the show, welcoming you to the show as well. They're going to run out and get this. Tell us about Bright and Deadly Things. What inspired you to write this?
Well, Bright and Deadly Things is set in the French Alps. So actually that photo of where I was, that was publication day, was very apt. But the inspiration for it was a chalet, Chalet des Anglais, which is in the French Alps, not too far away from Chamonix. And I was lucky enough to get invited to go there during my doctorate at Oxford University. It's owned by 3 different Oxford colleges, and the colleges take reading parties there during the summer. It's only accessible during the summer. It has no running water, no electricity. And, the idea is that you go, you do some walking, you do some kind of bonding with the other people there, and you do some academic work as well. And I had an absolutely lovely week there. But nobody died, just to be clear. But it did strike me as being a place with quite a unique atmosphere. And so when I came to think about setting a thriller in the world of Oxford academia, I was looking for a way to do it that was a little bit fresher, because there's quite a lot of campus thrillers out there, and I wanted to take that community and maybe put it somewhere else. And I remembered the Chalet des Anglais. So that is the setting for Bright and Deadly Things, and we follow the protagonist, who's Dr. Emily Rivers, who unfortunately has recently been widowed. Her husband has died in an accident, and she's struggling with her grief. And she thinks going to the chalet would be a great way to, maybe try and pull herself out of the kind of fog of grief that she's in. And even before she gets there, there's a break-in at her home. And then when she gets out to the chalet, she finds that there's quite a lot of tensions within the group. And the chalet itself seems to have a dark history. And then a student goes missing. And maybe I'll stop there so that there's no spoilers.
Ooh, wow. So when you write, I mean, because to put all that together, it really takes some time. What's the writing process like for you? And again, you've got several other works already out there, and they're just coming at you. What are some of the things that inspire you to put these incredible stories together?
So I'm looking initially on any new project, I'm looking for a really strong sense of atmosphere and setting. So, when I'm often playing with a few different ideas when I come to start a new project, and there'll be one that I just keep coming back to because I find something about the setting and the atmosphere really intriguing. And once I have that nailed down, then the characters tend to present themselves to me after that. So it's almost like they need to have a landscape to walk around in before they can really, become real, true characters in my head. And in terms of the process at that point, I would probably be discussing with my publishing editor to make sure they were on board with it. And if they're on board with it, then I would build out a 5 to 7 page outline. And then after that, you gotta sit down and start writing.
So when you wrote that book, how long did it take? I mean, from the outline and the germ of the first idea, how long did that process take? And when you write, are you writing and then putting it away and then bring it back out, or are you gung ho? You just keep writing every day?
Yeah. So, I mean, in total, from kind of first germ of an idea to landing on the shelf, I guess it's about 18 months, but a lot of that is the time that the kind of what you would call in film world, I guess, post-production, when the manuscript is done, but you're going through editing of copy edit, typesetting, all that sort of thing. And then even after that, there's a really long lead time so that reviewers can see the advanced copies and get a chance to read them before it actually hits shelves. So in terms of actual writing time, it's more maybe 9 to 12 months of writing time. I would say that I write most days. I don't write every day, but I do write most days. And I usually I get up and I go do some exercise. It's important to me to do exercise. And then if I've got any chores that I need to do, it's best I get them done, because once I sit down and write, I can be reluctant to stop. If you get into a flow of it, then you don't want to stop. That's certainly true later in a project. At the beginning of a project, it's a bit more like pulling teeth. Yeah. And you're trying to structure the thing at the same time as writing, and the word count can be really low at the beginning, and you just need to kind of set yourself targets and do anything you can to just keep yourself going. I mean, look, writing a book is a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly right, which well, marathons. I've asked others of who are writers and authors as well. So for you, the beginning, getting it wound up and getting those first few words on the page and getting things going, a little bit tougher maybe than for some people, knowing when to finish it, when to cap it, when to say last sentence, period, last word, done with it. I'm good. It's ready to go. I'm going to hand it off. We're going to get it published. Do you find that hard as well, knowing when to finish it, or is, again, starting it harder? Some say
Starting it's definitely harder. I mean, it's not so much the first sentence or the first chapter. It's just kind of the first few chapters, I guess, where I normally have a very strong idea of the opening scene, but then there's just certain things you have to do to build a structure in a novel, and that have consequences down the line. So, you're going to think through, is this a dual narrative? Is it a single narrative? Am I going to have diary entries like there is, for example, in Bright and Deadly Things? What am I going to have, and what impact is that going to have further on? So those are the things that can make it slow to begin with, I guess. I mean, normally, look, you finish your first draft, there's going to be a second draft. And actually, I really enjoy the second draft process, because that's the bit where you can really hone the material. And I used to think that wasn't a creative part of the process, but I think it really is. And you have to be really creative about making sure that you're following your themes, and you're highlighting what you want. And if you're changing something, that you're putting in exactly the right sentence at exactly the right place.
Yeah.
So yeah, you finish your first draft, there's going to be a second draft. There may be a teeny tiny kind of 2.5 draft with a few tweaks as well. So it feels like there's a lot of points where you stop,
Right.
And so I don't think of any one as being the major one. I mean, I guess when you do the final proofread, that's probably the major one. But by then, to be honest, I've probably read it like 6 times and I wrote it. So I'm usually quite sick of it, and I need a period of stepping away, and then I step away. And when it comes to, the actual publication point, I put my head back in that space and sometimes go, oh, actually, that's quite good. Quite like that.
Exactly. It makes total sense, especially when you're investing so much of yourself, your time, and your emotion in it. You can get so deep, whether it's writing a book, whether it's creating a piece of music, or producing a TV show, or anything that's creative of any kind. You're so invested in it on so many different levels that you do need to step back, take a break, and then come back out at maybe refreshed. Do you ever, as you're in the process of writing, do you ever have other people, maybe your husband, maybe your family, look at it as well? Or do you like to wait until it's completely finished and then let the public at large see it? Do you have other people? Do you read it aloud to the family? Say, okay, I'm going to write this. Here it is. I'm going to read it to you. What do you think? Should I change anything? Do you do any of that process, or is it all kept close to the vest?
Yeah, I'm a pretty close to the vest person. The only person who would read it before it goes to my publishing house is my agent, and she has great interns. I mean, and assistants, and her current assistant Jess Macy is fantastic and really helpful. And between the two of them, I get really great notes. But yeah, it goes to my agent Marcy, and then after that it would go to the publishing house. And my husband is a lawyer. He reads for a living. He doesn't need to read all my drafts as they go along. He can wait till the thing actually comes out. And actually, my youngest son is of all of my family, he's the one who's chomping at the bit, waiting for an advanced reading copy so that he can get into it and have it read before anybody else does. He wants to read it before it hits the shelves.
He wants that exclusive, right? That sort of first dibs, and that's kind of a cool thing. That makes sense, with a proud son, and he's all excited about it. And I love that idea. I could see that. It makes total sense. Other works that you've done too, I just want to sprinkle in because we'd love to give people a good sense of your writing and your material. Tell us about The French Girl.
So The French Girl was my debut novel,
Right.
written over a much longer period than Bright and Deadly Things, because of course with your first novel you have no deadline. And I also had 2 very young children at that point. But that one, again, actually was based on an experience that I had during my university years when a group of us went, again, during my doctorate, a group of us went to a farmhouse in France for a week's vacation. And I remember like lying on a sun lounger and having the idea kind of spool out in my head, but it was years and years before I could write it. And in that novel, you know, it starts with a body being found in a well at this farmhouse, and the body is a girl who went missing 10 years ago when this group of people were on holiday together in France, and they were the last people to see her. So it kind of gets the whole group back together 10 years on from leaving university. And one of the things I quite like doing is investigating group dynamics, and particularly how they change over time, how they change if you take somebody out of the group, you know, how they rebalance. It's that kind of, you know, spider's web of relationships that everybody has, and you know, what happens if you tug here, and how does that unbalance it, and so forth. And the French Girl is very much about somebody examining their memories of that time, and with 10 years more life experience, and going, maybe it wasn't quite what I thought. And if it wasn't quite what I thought, what does that mean? And now we are wondering if there's, you know, somebody who actually murdered this girl within our group, and, you know, so forth. So that's the French Girl.
That's cool. Here are some others too.
How to Kill Your Best Friend. So that was the first title that I ever got to stick. The French Girl and The Missing Years had different working titles, and then I always thought they'd get changed. But this one, when I came up with this title, I thought, pretty sure that my publishing house will like this title.
These titles are like what you see on the Lifetime channel, the Lifetime movie TV network. I don't know if you get that there, or you've heard of the Lifetime network.
I've heard of it. Yes.
Yeah, all of those shows and movies are like this, and it's very cool. So you never know. I mean, is there a possibility that any of these could be adapted for the small screen, for a Netflix, for, you know, Amazon Prime, Paramount, Lifetime network? Some of them I'm sure could be, huh?
Well, I think they're all maybe not Bright and Deadly Things because it's just out, but I think the other three are all optioned at the moment.
They are. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would love it if something did come to fruition, but I think as an author, you generally just bank the check and don't hold your breath. That's sort of my approach, because there's so much these days, and I certainly hear that a lot of the streamers, etc., overbought during the pandemic, and so there is that issue to contend with. But How to Kill Your Best Friend, you know, I said I always look for setting and atmosphere first. Actually, that one is the exception that proves the rule, because I literally came up with the title and was like, okay, why would anyone want to do that? And what must be in the history of these friends that they would, you know, consider
and
killing
I was
their
going
best
to
friend?
ask you too, did you run this by your own best friend first?
So I
She
really
didn't get
wish
nervous, did she?
when I told her about it, I really wish I'd filmed it, because we were in a coffee shop and she was asking me about the writing, and I said, you know, I think I'm actually going to have a title that sticks for once. And she was like, what's the title? I said, How to Kill Your Best Friend. And she literally spat out her coffee. And I was just, I should have filmed that.
What are you talking about? I thought we were friends.
But she's in the dedications.
You had to buy her coffee that day.
I put her in the dedications, and in the dedications it reassures her that I've never considered killing her.
So tell us about it a little bit, previews, because, you know, again, our viewers, whether they're watching live or this episode is going to be archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, like the other almost 1,000 of episodes are that we've done. I know, right? In almost just under 3 years, we've done right around 900 episodes so far, which is
You've been busy.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. People say, when do you sleep? I sleep standing up. But tell us about that novel.
So that one, it follows a group of friends, one of whom has drowned just off the coast of the luxury resort that her and her husband have been running. And that's a strange thing, because she was a champion swimmer. and the group of friends all get together for a memorial on this lovely island in Southeast Asia, and we follow the story through the eyes of two of them, through Georgie and Bronwyn, both of whom have different reasons for having questions about Lys's death, and both of whom approach Lys's death in a very different way. And it becomes apparent that that maybe Lys's death is only the beginning.
Ooh, everybody say ooh. They are saying that. Actually, there's somebody who's a big fan of your material. Reka says, "Hi, my name is Reka Chada. Lexi's books are amazing." Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Yeah, everybody's welcoming you from around the world here. If this is your first time watching, I'm Jim Masters, your host. Very special guest, Lexie Elliott, is here, novelist and athlete extraordinaire. And we're talking about her books, her career, her life, and all the other cool things she's got going on. You mentioned this one as well, The Missing Years. Tell us about that one.
So that one was the first novel I had to write to a deadline, because it was it was my second one published, and I set it in the area that I grew up in, actually, just the foot of the Highlands, and it really felt like a homage, I suppose, to the landscape that I grew up in, which I think is just enormously evocative, and is just made for storytelling. Those mountains are so real and so gritty, and they have a sense of history to them. They just feel like they've seen a lot, and it follows a lady, Elsa, who's inherited half a house, and she's inherited half a house because her mother has died and passed it on to her, but her father, who owns the other half, has been missing for almost a quarter of a century. So she goes to the house with her half sister to try and she needs to see what she can do legally about actually selling it and to sort out the house, etc. And she, through the community, which is quite a small Scottish community, she discovers some things, and there's some rather odd goings on at the house itself. For example, animals won't go onto the land, won't come into the garden at all, and she begins to think that that her own life may be in danger for reasons that you'll have to find out by reading the book.
Yeah. I know. See, that's something that's learned to know that, because sometimes you may want to give it away, and then the marketing side says, no, I can't give it all away. It's kind of like, something that goes to a movie in the movie theater, and then you want to tell everybody about it. Like, don't tell me the ending scene, please. No, it's crazy. Yeah. There's some others. Oh, well, this was a different cover a little bit.
Yeah, so I usually end up with a different cover in the US is the primary publishing house, and then the UK usually publish with a different cover.
That is cool, and that happens a lot too. A lot of times there's different covers, as you go along. And there again, the winner is. And these books have won different accolades too, right? Tell us about that. The various.
Well, I mean, the How to Kill Your Best Friend was a Richard and Judy summer pick, which was fantastic, because the Richard and Judy book club over here, I don't know that it has quite the same clout in the US or not, but over here is a really, really big thing. And when I was a kid and you were off school, you always watched Richard and Judy on daytime TV. That was what you did. So it was quite exciting for me to be interviewed by Richard and Judy. So yes,
that's that one. Regis and Kathy Lee. That was our version.
And the Bright and Deadly Things has had some really wonderful reviews as well. So yeah, feeling very, very fortunate that it's getting such great appreciation.
It's amazing, when you take a look at the body of work already that you've sort of pumped out for everybody, which is extraordinary. And you're writing continually. You're writing another one, right?
I am. I mean, I'm not terribly far on with it. So I think, it might be it might be a little longer. I think, as I said, I've been running on a year and a half. I'm probably running it will probably be 2 years before the next one comes out. But yes, working on that. I've also been working on writing something in different genre, because I think after 4 psychological thrillers, it is important that I keep myself fresh.
Yeah.
And the thing in another genre may never get published, but it's important for me as a kind of writing process to maybe stretch out in a little bit of a different direction, so that when I am writing the psychological thrillers, they do feel fresh.
Who are some of the authors, the writers, novelists that you have always admired, that inspired you through the years, that you've loved to read and follow their careers?
So when I was a teenager, I read hugely widely, all different genres, but I read particularly a lot of mystery, kind of mystery thriller, and a lot of fantasy, sci-fi fantasy. And in the mystery thriller genre, I was reading a ton of Agatha Christie, to the point that now I almost just actually can't quite sometimes work out which one it was. They get a bit muddled up in my head. And I read a lot of MMK. I read a lot of the kind of Dick Francis type thrillers. I also read an awful lot of Sherry S. Tepper, Margaret Atwood, those kind of things, and all the classics that you were supposed to read. Although I never got on that well with Dickens, to be honest. I love it. I love a bit of Jane Austen. I love a bit of Bronte sisters, but Dickens never grabbed me. I think there must be something missing in my brain for that one. But Margaret Atwood was the one where I would say just kind of, but she opened my eyes up to the short story form and how much you can do in that. And I think for many years, I thought that's all I would ever write. I didn't have a lot of time when I was working in the investment bank, and I was writing short stories and putting those into competitions. And I'm not sure at that point I could quite see how I could make the step to becoming a novelist as opposed to just a short story writer. And it was only when I lost my job in the global financial crisis and suddenly had a bit more time that I thought, oh, maybe I should give a novel a try.
I can imagine the stories that you could write working in the investment banking business.
Do you know, people have said that, and I think intellectually I ought to be able to, but so far there's nothing that's really grabbed me,
Nothing like on Wall Street here.
Yeah.
Those stories.
I mean, you would think so, right? I have the background for it, but you have to write what you feel passionate about writing, and I guess the right story hasn't just occurred to me yet.
Happened. I think it was Merlin in Ontario, Canada, who's watching. We have viewers watching around the world. We welcome everybody. New viewers too. We welcome you to the Jim Master Show live series. Was asking about the English Channel and swimming across it. What was that about? What was that like? That's not exactly a very placid, calm lake.
It's not. It's cold. It's the busiest shipping channel in the world, as I understand it. And it's long. It's 21.2 miles. So it's sort of known as the Everest of open water swimming, and the statistic on getting across it solo is about a 50% success rate, and a frightening number of people fail in the last mile, because in the last mile, they kind of the currents become very difficult to navigate and to bash through, because this shape of the sea bottom at that point makes it much more difficult. Anyway, I had gotten into open water swimming at university because Oxford and Cambridge race each other across the channel as a relay race every 2 years. And I was part of the team in the year 2000. It was everybody swam for an hour at a time, 3 men, 3 women in the team, and you just kept cycling through the team until you hit France. And we had a fantastic team, of which I was definitely the least prolific and able swimmer. I was kind of like number 6 on the team, but we got across in 8 hours and 18 minutes, which I think is still the record for a mixed team relay across the channel. Great swim, great day. But I remember at that point thinking, oh, I'm never going to do this solo because it's just too far and too cold. And
Yeah.
then I met someone shortly after I got engaged who had swum the channel solo, and he wasn't as quick a swimmer as me, and he'd done it in something like 15, 16 hours, and I was just so impressed. But also it made me think, okay, I can swim at least as well as you, and so maybe I could do this. And then I had my eldest son, and you have a baby, and it's wonderful.
Changes
But
everything. Yeah.
yeah, and everything becomes about the child. And I suppose there was a little bit of me that wanted to do something that still made me feel like me. So I signed up to do the channel, which turned out to be slightly nuts. But anyway, we managed to I managed to do it in July 2007. So my eldest son was just over a year at that point. So there was a lot of juggling the baby, juggling the job, my husband having to step in and help. But yes, I got across in 12 and a half hours.
Wow.
It is
And what's the
very
distance
cold.
you said?
It's 21.2 miles.
Wow.
But
So
you swim further because of the way the currents sweep you. You sort of do a kind of sideways V shape.
Exactly. Like you go forward and then it almost pushes you back, and then you got
exactly. Yeah.
got to hit the
And
current at the right time, like the jet stream.
If someone it takes longer, then they can start looking like an S, because they end up. Yeah.
Well, there's another one that you could do if you come over to the States within the range of that sort of a distance. The water, generally the water is much calmer because it's not a channel, but it's a big body of water. It's the Long Island Sound. And it is the body of water that goes along the Connecticut coast, New York, sort of Westchester, New York, up through the entire Connecticut coast, just to about where Connecticut meets Rhode Island. And it separates southern New England from Long Island, New York. And Long Island, of course, is an island that's 180 miles long, detached from the mainland, and it's part of New York State. And it's a body of water in between. There's a lot of boating and swimming and fishing. It's very recreational. There's all kinds of wonderful things they do. But it's 110 miles long, but it's 27 miles across. And they have a thing they call the swim across the Sound, which I believe starts in Connecticut, and they swim across the Sound to New York, to Long Island, for charity. And they do it every summer. So there might be another one on your bucket lists in the States.
Yeah.
But it's calmer than the channel.
Yeah, the channel, I mean, you don't go unless they think that the weather is going to be, good enough. You have to, at the very least, start in good weather. So the weather isn't normally the problem. It's just that it's so cold and it's so long, and the currents are quite, difficult. And then you hope that you don't have any issues with the traffic that comes through.
Right, exactly. The shipping and all the rest. Hang on, hold that tanker. She's got to finish.
Exactly.
Hold that Norwegian cruise line. She's got to finish.
I mean, they literally put out a kind of Coast Guard alert that you're an immovable object, because there's no way you can get out of the way swimming fast enough. So you're an immovable object as far as everybody is concerned.
Diving down won't do it either, like you can do with a wave, like when you're surfing, you can dive down below it if you can to get. So have you been doing book signings at bookstores in the area there and things of that nature?
I've been doing a lot of this kind of thing, actually, because the paperback for the UK doesn't come out till the summer. So really, it's been more based around the US. So a lot of being on Zoom or whatever platform people are using.
Right, exactly, to get the word out. So you have that US following. Canada as well?
Yes, absolutely. North America, yeah.
That's terrific. Have you
America and
been
Canada.
here? Have you been to the States?
In the past,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was there in October, actually. So in California, my son was looking at universities. We're just
Schools
about
there.
getting to that point of considering.
Mm.
And, he's not sure whether it'll be UK or the US he'd like to go to. So we were taking a look, an educational trip through California universities.
That is cool. That is so fantastic, huh?
Yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't be sad if he ended up in California and I had to visit there.
Except for right now with all the snow and ice and rain and crazy
Yeah.
weather they've been having, it's unbelievable. I was there in northern Napa Valley, which is beautiful, on a TV project. It was stunning, but in the region they were having these flooding rains that it was unprecedented. There's storms coming off the Pacific Ocean that were so unnatural. I think the earth is a little angry at us humans. Somebody also asked, I think it was Merlin again, would you write any material based on sports, based on your, career in sports? Any of that?
So How to Kill Your Best Friend has quite a lot of swimming in it. So there's definitely an autobiographical note in terms of, I was the right person to write that novel. I have the swimming knowledge for that novel. In terms of other sports, I don't know. I mean, this story that I want to tell has to be strong enough in whatever setting, whatever area it is. I like all authors, I guess I can't help but draw on the things that I have a lot of experience on, hence I suppose Dr. Emily Rivers in Bright and Deadly Things, she's a fellow in theoretical physics, because I know about theoretical physics and I can write that authentically. So yeah, it's entirely possible that you might come across a Lexie Elliott thriller that has, I don't know, marathon runners, with knives drawn at each other's necks. I don't know.
Now, somebody might ask this too, is Lexie Elliott a pen name or the name?
It's the name. Yes, I married Mr. Elliott and became Lexie Elliott. Yeah. But Lexie is short for Alexandra.
Elliott, right?
No relation. Lexie is short for Alexandra, but I've never ever been known as Alexandra by my mum would never, even when cross with me, call me Alexandra. Okay. So I've just always been Lexie.
Had you ever thought of a pen name? I know some people do that from time to time with different material.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it a little in terms of if I did get something published in a different genre, I would need to do it under a different name, because a Lexie Elliott reader expects a psychological thriller. So yeah, I have been thinking about it. It's an interesting one. What you would do, and do you would I revert to maybe my maiden name or something like that? I don't know.
Right, exactly. Yes. Some people have done it for somehow they sell more too for some reason when there's two different names, which I find really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So
you could try and be clever about it, because I know there are different genres where they prefer an author who's genderless or possibly I think in sci-fi a male author seems to sell better and so forth, but sometimes I think you can be too cute about that and just choose what you want to choose.
Exactly right. What's a typical day like for you, Lexie? Are you always writing? And have you ever come across a period where, I know some writers get writer's block?
I've never had writer's block for an extended period. Sometimes I've had, a little issue, or I've been writing something and thinking, oh, geez, this is actually boring me, so it's definitely going to bore the reader. At that point, I would usually pull on some shoes and go for a walk or a run. And often I find when I come back to it, I've got a fresh approach. And sometimes you don't even need to do that. You've been doing something that's more or less a transitional scene. And in fact, it's not necessary. You can jump ahead and explain it in some other way. So yeah, if I find myself finding it very heavy weather, it might be a signal that it's not the right approach. I need to look at it differently. So a typical day for me would be, get up, do some exercise, do my whatever chores I have to do. And then I might not even sit down to write till about 11. But when I do, I'm probably writing through till, 6-ish with a break for lunch, like 45-minute break for lunch and look at the news or something. And that changes, if I'm meeting a friend, then maybe I meet the friend for lunch, and then I write later into the evening. And there are some days where, you had a target word count, and once you've hit it, you just like, right, I'm done. There's not a single sensible sentence I can write at this point. I'm done. And then there are other days where you just keep going,
I had somebody say that an author say recently, which really I found fascinating, that question I asked you earlier about whether it's harder for you to get going and just get that steam rolling, or to cap it off and know when to finish it and when you're comfortable with it and you're all set. I asked the person that question, and they, what they said, and I'm sure you'll relate to this too. They found the middle the hardest. And it was one of the first times I've done a lot of writing over the years too, and I never thought about it that way. They thought for them, the middle was the hardest because it was the bridge from that beginning, and sort of they had an ending already in their mind, perhaps, or how they were going to cap it, and linking the two, the middle part. Does that make sense in any way to you?
It really does, because I usually say I know the beginning and I know the end, but kind of the route between the two is a bit fuzzy. And that's where doing an outline helps, because it gives you a sort of pathway. But there's always lots of different ways you could choose to go. And I think that's why it becomes very quick in terms of writing at the end, because you're getting so close to the finish line that there's really no other way to go. Sometimes I liken it to driving from London to Edinburgh. If I start in London, there's loads of different routes I can take to get to Edinburgh. But as I get closer to Edinburgh, there's probably only one road I can be on to get there. So it's a bit like that for me. So I do relate to whoever that was.
Yeah. That's the first time I heard it. And I'm like, that does make sense, because sometimes it is the bridge between the two that is incredibly important, linking the two together like that. How about screenplays and things of that nature? Have you dabbled in that area?
I've written a couple that I haven't really done anything with. I'm not sure they're as finished as I would want them to be to do something with. It's an area I would like to work in at some point. I wonder if the route in would be if something of mine was actually adapted for the screen, because I usually have I usually want to be involved in that process. That's one of the things that I would discuss when you're putting the options contract in place.
Yeah.
Not that I would adapt it myself, but I'd want to be involved, because I would view that as a learning process. And
it is, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be quite interesting. And I think if you are a writer and you and you enjoy words, and your stories come to you visually, it makes sense that the screenplay would be a place that you could also turn your hand to.
Exactly. That's a great idea. Well, you've already got some of the lingo down already, post-production. I mean, that is what it is, right? Merlin here, actually, she asked a question. She goes, are your boys into sports or any other projects that take you away from writing?
Let's just be clear. Family takes you away from writing whatever they're into. But yes, yes, my boys are really keen runners. So there's a lot of taking them to various events. And when they were younger, there was a lot of swimming as well as running. And I did quite a bit of tapping away on the side of swimming pools, which I can't begrudge at all, because clearly my parents did exactly the same thing for me. I mean, not the tapping away, but certainly taking me to all the swimming sessions at whatever time it was. So, but, I used to think pre-pandemic, I had a sort of idea that, oh my God, if the world would just stop for a moment, I could write so much faster. If we didn't have, school concerts and the parents' evening and the this and that, I would write so much better if the world just stopped. And then I sort of realized that actually that's not true. And all those things are like little micro deadlines in your life. It's like, okay, if you want to write 1,000 words today, well, you're going to have to get them done by, 5:30, because then you've got to go to the thing. And it's good to have things like that in your life. And you need that social interaction as well. The pandemic definitely didn't make me write faster. It just made me, worry about whether we had enough loo roll and, having kids shouting, "Mom, the printer's broken," and all of that when you're trying
we
to
ran
write.
out of cereal and where's the hand sanitizer? And
and why could nobody except me find anything in this house?
Well, see, there's a story right there you could write. Some of the, the things that have been experienced while everybody was, a lot of families were sort of brought back together. Couples were, because everybody's so busy around the world and all our crazy busy 24/7 lives, and then there's social media and everything else keeping us going. And there's so many stories and things that have happened with relationships and everything, where everybody was now in the house and you couldn't really go much places because everything was closed or whatever. And they sort of got reacquainted with one another. All right, you're my son, right? Or you're my daughter, or you're my wife, you're my husband. I mean, there's been a lot of that. So prime real estate there in terms of content for possible other Lexi works.
Well, I think, there is going to be, there's a couple of films, certainly. I think Spielberg was saying he wouldn't have done The Fabelmans, was it not for the pandemic. And there was another director whose name escapes me. And the same thing, that it was a film born out of the pandemic. And I think, we have some years to go before we will really have gotten through a body of work that I think is coming, that is heavily influenced by that.
They used to say, I've said this a couple of times, they used to say BC meant before Christ, but now it means before COVID. It's a whole other,
it's a marker in life.
It's in our vernacular now. People are like, well, before the pandemic or during the pandemic, it's really extraordinary. Who would have ever, thought, right? What did you learn about yourself, about either your writing or anything about Lexi during that downtime? It was a time where we all had time to reflect on our lives, where we wanted to go in the future, next chapter, things we've done in the past. What are some things that maybe you learned along the way during that time?
Well, one of the major things I learned was how to work at home, because I generally didn't. At that point, I was working 3 days a week in the city and then writing the rest of the time. And when I wanted to write, I would get out of the house. I would go to a coffee shop. I'd go to the cafe of my local leisure center, whatever, but I'm not in the house, because in the house I tended to think, oh, well, I need to put on that load of laundry and I need to sort this and I need to sort that. And I discovered during the pandemic that if I kept that attitude going, I was never going to write another word, because I had no choice but to write in the house. And so it taught me to be able to do that and to just kind of sit and get it done regardless. It was an interesting thing for me because I managed to keep writing, but I found it very difficult to focus on other things. I'd try and get interested in like a series on Netflix or something. I just didn't have the bandwidth for it. I couldn't seem to settle and invest the time.
Right. Yeah. For some reason, even though you would think the time's there, right. There was just so much heavy going on. You had to sort of figure out, okay, what's happening next? What's going on with the world, with our neighborhoods, with our schools, with our jobs and everything. And yes, it's amazing. You would think we had all this time to do that. But life's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And the other thing I learned was, all of the stuff that was on my to be read pile, if it didn't get read by the end of COVID, you're never going to read it. So just kind of get rid of it. Some of those may have been books that I wanted to have read rather than wanted to read. And those are definitely two different ideas.
You know, it's interesting too when you would see conversations like these, especially during the thick of the pandemic, especially when they were doing like news reports. You'd have the news host, anchor, presenter, whatever, reporter in one screen, and then you'd have whoever the other person is. They would always have this massive bookshelf behind them with all these books, and you're wondering, is that a green screen? Or did they really read all those books, or did they just put them there to make it look good? Or
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny, right?
When I see other authors doing something like this, they're often in front of, shelves of all their own books. And yeah, I'm not sure. Certainly I couldn't work like that. It would feel like all your old stories were peeking over your shoulder,
Exactly right. Almost like haunting in a certain way. So you're loving it. You're living. You're in a sweet spot. Family and um, the athletics is still part of your life and very important. And of course, the writing and creating these incredible novels and other cool things that may come out of it, like you say, possible television, movies, whatever it may be. You're in a pretty good sweet spot. You're living what you love doing, huh?
Yeah, I feel very fortunate, and I suppose I like the fact that I can be lots of different things. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a friend, I'm a writer, I'm an athlete. Sometimes I still do some financial consulting. I can do all these different things, and I don't have to be just one thing. And I think years and years ago, we maybe thought of a career as being the one thing in your life. And I think now we have a much more balanced view of what life should be. And that certainly seems to suit me better.
It's also very inspiring for others, who are looking at you, who are fans of your work, or maybe they're just learning about you here on our show right now. And they're like, boy, there's something I've wanted to do. And I never thought I had the time or the stamina or the tenacity or the patience to do it. But look at Lexi. I mean, she's able to sort of, not that any of it's easy, but she can compartmentalize as needed and do what you have to do to sort of balance some of it. And maybe this empowers me to go out and do something that I've always wanted to do. So it's very empowering and inspiring as well. I don't know if you've heard that from other people over the years, but even, young people that are coming up the ranks, seeing what you've accomplished and continue to accomplish, quite inspiring, whether it's, sports or writing.
Oh, that's very, very kind. And if it does help someone, to think about what they want to do, then, I'm thrilled.
Right. Absolutely right. This was really awesome, my friend. Absolutely. And I want to give folks the website. Now, the books themselves, are they available on Amazon and all the book platforms?
Absolutely. If you put Lexie Elliott into any kind of major retail platform for books, you will find my novels.
And that's with the extra E at the end and the extra T at the end. So make sure you note that.
Yeah, it's
very
Lexie
important.
Elliott, double L and double T.
Double L, double. That's you got it. And two E's. And this was awesome. This really was. I appreciate your stopping by our show. Congratulations on everything that's happening in your life. This is really very, very cool. And I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I have with you, and the show met whatever expectations that you had, Lexi. This was terrific, sharing not only the material, but also your story and meeting the person behind all the work, sort of a little complete understanding of what motivates you and inspires you. And, it's nice talking about the books, and we're doing that, and we're going to show them again, but also learning about the person who puts all the work together and what your life is all about. So thanks for stopping by the show. Hope you enjoyed the time as much as I certainly have.
Oh, it's been really lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Absolutely. And from there, visiting folks are on a project in London, I'll let you know. And if you're here
Absolutely.
in the States, East Coast at all, let me know. That would be kind of cool. And spread the word about the Gym Masters Show Live series. We would love that. It takes a village, as you know.
Yeah. I will, but thank you. It's been such a pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine as well. And this will be archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. So, you can share it around with friends and colleagues and others. Maureen in Arizona, USA wants to say, truly a wonderful conversation. I wish you continued success in everything you do, Lexi. Sherry Larson, this is some of our Lovity squad. They already said you're a Lovity. How cool is that, huh? It's a warm, fuzzy feeling. Sherry Larson's in Kansas, USA. She goes, thank you, Lexi. Your books, amazing. They look amazing. Love the genre. Best wishes in all you do in the future. Merlin in
Thank you.
Ontario, Canada. Thanks, Lexi. It was great to meet you. Kathleen in New York City. Thanks for being here, Lexi. Your books sound amazing. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, I
Thank
love
you,
it.
everyone, for checking in.
Yeah, that's the Lovity Squad, just a few of the thousands voicing their fantastic words and kindness. You enjoy, I know it's a little bit late where you are. Did you have supper already, I hope?
We did, yeah.
Good. Thanks, Lexi. You're the best. It was a pleasure and continued success. And definitely stay in touch. We'd love to have you back, and we'll keep spreading the word about all your material. Congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Cheers. Lexie Elliott here on the Jim Masters Show, coming to us live from London, England. Got a chance to really learn a little bit about the writer, the author, the novelist, her life, what inspires her. You might have not have even realized that she's an incredible athlete as well as a brilliant writer. She's been doing this for a long time, and her work is amazing. And you can get it all on Amazon and all those cool places. And also, there's her website if you'd like to check it out. And it's a terrific website. Talks about the books and talks about projects and her background and more. And this is the latest again, Bright and Deadly Things. She shared what it's a little bit about. She didn't want to give the whole thing away, as you wouldn't want to. So you can read it and enjoy it. Cool. In a remote chalet in the French Alps. Who is friend and who is foe? Find out. And here's, again, we wanted to sprinkle in just a few of the other works as well, just a couple of them, because I know what happens is when you fall in love with one, then you want to get the rest, right? So here's just a few of some of the others that she has penned. And she gave us the backstory about them too, what inspired the chain of events when they were written, what the writing process was like. And there she is there, proudly displaying them. And there's that cool shot with the champagne. We showed this earlier too. Again, she is a brilliant athlete as well, and proud mom, author, and all the rest. And she was involved in investment banking. And I tell you, it's a real full circle experience on many levels. Hope you guys enjoyed this. It was a great episode learning about Lexie Elliott, the novelist extraordinaire and athlete, coming to us from London, England, by way originally of Scotland. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, check out her material. Let us know how much you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a thumbs up like on our YouTube channel. We would absolutely love that. That helps us grow as well, helps us get the word out about all the episodes that we have. There is a thumbs up icon right next to this episode on the YouTube channel. Click the thumbs up, drop a comment in the comments section on our channel as well. We would absolutely love that. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It doesn't cost anything. When you hit the red subscribe button, that helps us grow. You're part of the JMS Lovity family. But also make sure you click the notification bell icon so you never miss any of our episodes, live or otherwise, right here in Lovity Hall on the Jim Masters Show live series. Thanks for all the great comments. Really terrific. Merlin says, time to prepare some kind of supper. Not sure what it is yet. Is it going to be another one of your famous bologna sandwiches, bologna on white? That's a famous sandwich for Merlin there in Ontario. Christine in North Carolina, she goes, Lexi, thanks for sharing your life and career with us. Lexi is inspirational and so bright. It was interesting to hear her process and steps in writing her novels. That's what I like to do, is not just talk about the book itself, because that you can do in 5 minutes. We do conversations here. You learned about her writing process. So when you get her material and you wish her continued success, you'll appreciate the process more. You always learn something on our shows because all the different guests that come in from Broadway, Hollywood, television, film, music, stage, culinary arts, sports, comedy, inspiration, all of life. You always learn something about the process, whether it's somebody that you've followed and you've known for years and you're a fan of, or somebody that you just discovered here on the Jim Masters Show, maybe Lexie Elliott and her work you just discovered. You learn things about me because I'm expressive during the show. You guys learn things about each other. So it's a full circle situation here at JMS, and we love that. Kathleen Walker said, that's why we don't call these interviews. We call this a talk show series and conversations. It's a little bit more interactive and just has a different vibe than just me reading their intro, reading their bio, asking the standard typical questions. Tell us about the book. And then you're great, you're awesome, you're fabulous, I love you, and then bye. That's very typical of what a lot of people do. That's not what we do here. It's very interactive and a certain feeling, as Kathleen Walker knows. Thanks, Jim. Great show. Got to check out her books. Absolutely. You know where to go to get them all. And she's in New York City, big fan of our series. And Sherry Larson, thank you, Jim, for another fantastic show. Have the rest of your day, of your Sunday. Thank you very much. And no bologna sandwich from Merlin tonight. No, not tonight. She's having pork chops and vegetables, I think. Very, very cool. I love that. And Sherry loves it. So she's going to go from Kansas, USA up to Canada to Ontario to have the pork chops with Merlin. That sounds pretty good. Got a little bit of a drive to get there. Here, one more time, is the website for Lexie Elliott. We really appreciate her spending time with us. She's about 5 hours ahead of us here on the East Coast of the United States. And so it's like around 9:15 or so p.m. Eastern for her at the time of our live show, because we do these episodes live. But we thank her for stopping by. We thank you as well. Gang, if you ever miss any of the episodes, they are all available on our YouTube channel. We thank Lexi for stopping by the Jim Masters Show live series. All of the Jim Masters Show episodes, hundreds and hundreds of them, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of guests, and great content, and pop-up shows, and holiday shows, and special presentations, and all kinds of things we've done over the last several years are available for binge watching at any time, 24/7 on our YouTube channel. Cool stuff. All right. That's a wrap. I think everybody wants the pork chops. They're heading up to Merlin's. Merlin, you're going to have to set some extra table settings at your table there in Canada. I think you got a lot of JMS lovedies heading to your house for pork chops. All right, gang, we love you all. Take care and be well. Spread the word about our show. You can find me on all the social media at Jim Masters TV on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is Jim Masters TV. And stay tuned. If you want to see who's coming up this week, just look at our YouTube channel. And of course, we share it all on social media as well. Got so many extraordinary guests that are popping on and popping by to visit me, visit you, and visit us here on the Jim Masters Show live series. Christine says, thanks again, Jim. Lexi's books do sound fascinating. Another enjoyable time together in Lovety Hall. Yeah, Lovety. Hugs to all. Right back at you. And Maureen is heading up to Merlin's with the wine. I hope you got a lot of pork chops there, Berlin, for everybody. And Kathleen says, enjoy your day. Bye all, and hugs. You guys are great. All right. Those of you commenting, and if you want to comment later on, you can do it on the YouTube channel in the comments section. This is Jim Masters. We don't say goodbye around here. We say see you later. Ciao, cheers, shalom, slancha, cheerio, avida zain. Hasta la vista. We say sayonara, mori loop, take care, be well. And one more thing we always say, and we started this when we started the show, and you wanted me to bring it back. Don't forget to relax. Life is crazy and nutty sometimes. Don't forget to relax, breathe, take time for yourself, and find that balance. And always stop by the Jim Masters Show. We guarantee laughs, entertainment, great information, and a lot of cool times with all of you. We're going to sign off. Thanks for being with us. Check out all the other episodes in the archives. We appreciate you very much for being a viewer, a subscriber, and watching and enjoying our series. Jim Masters signing off. Take care and be well, and cheers.